Hello, yeah, welcome again to another session of Cloud Computing. Malik here with you. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can create an Amazon Web Services VPC and how you can deploy a virtual machine on the VPC. Without much ado, let's dive into the screen to see how it's been done. First thing you want to do is to log in to your AWS account. The moment you do that, you search for VPC. So you can see this first option, you click on it. So it will take you to the VPC dashboard where you can configure your network resources. So it's taking time to load. So while it's loading, the next thing you want to take of doing now is to create your VPC. You can see the option here. This is a VPC dashboard, and you have other activities around it, like resources by region, and co. But what we are trying to do now is to create the VPC. So I'll click on create VPC. So it will take me to the page where I will create the VPC. So you first of all select the VPC only, order the resource to create. Then you enter the VPC name, order the name tag. So you order here the name. For the IPv4 CIDR block, you can leave it as a manual input. Then you enter it here. You understand the default IP address. You can just key it in here, Then after entering it there, you scroll down, you select no IPv6 CIDR block. Then for the tenancy, you can select default. Then for the VPC encryption control, you can make it none. You scroll down and leave every other thing by default. Then you click on create VPC. So the VPC has been created successfully. The next thing you want to do now is to ensure that the route table is also created. The moment you create your VPC, the route table will be automatically created. What the route table does is just to ensure a communication between all the subnets within your VPC. So if you check the route table now, you notice that it has a default one that came with the VPC. So the next thing you want to do now is to create your Ethernet gateways. With the Ethernet gateways, your subnet will be able to connect with each other within the VPC. You understand? They will be able to have access to the Ethernet and allowing both inbound and outbound traffic flow. So to do that, you just click on create Ethernet gateway. But mind you, this default one needs to be deleted because it doesn't have to be there not to interrupt your network. So what you just do is to highlight it, come to actions, then you say detach from VPC. After detaching it, then you move on to the next option to delete it. So after clicking the create Ethernet gateway, it will take you to this page where you need to create it. So you just need to enter the name of the Ethernet gateway here. When you're done, you click on create Ethernet gateway. Remember that the Ethernet gateway needs to be attached to your VPC to allow an inbound and outbound flow of traffic. So now that you have it created, you come to the Ethernet gateways dashboard. Let's say this is what we just created. You select it, you come to actions, then you say attach to VPC. You just need to select the VPC which you already have created. Available VPC, this is the one we just created, Fitech VPC. Fitech VPC. Then you say attach Ethernet gateway. So the Ethernet gateway will now be attached to the Fitech VPC, and the flow of both inbound and outbound traffic will be enabled. So the next thing you want to do now is to create our subnet. So to create the subnet for our VPC, you just come to this subnet, you click on it. So it's going to show some default subnets already created. What you want to do now is to highlight them all and delete. We don't want to use those default subnets. We need to create our own. So after highlighting them, you come to actions, you say delete subnet. So it will ask you to confirm by entry or delete confirmation message. So I type in delete, then I click on delete. To come and say type delete. I say delete. I say yes, confirm. So they are all gone now. So I'll just click on create subnet. Then I'll select the VPC where the subnet will be attached. Create a subnet to this in this VPC. So the VPC I'm creating a subnet for is for FinTech VPC. Then I scroll down and enter all the details for this particular subnet I am creating. So the subnet we are going to be creating will be three. We have one for front end, the back end, and the database. So like I said earlier on, the VPC ID for the subnet will be this, which we are working on. This is the one we created on earlier on. Then the SADA block VPC is this. That is the IP address for the SADA block. Then for the subnet name, the first one which we are creating is front end subnet. And the availability zone is this. You have several availability zones. Remember, regions is different from zone. So my region is North Virginia, United States. Then the subnet for the availability zone will be this. There are several zones within a region. So the zones here include 1 to 6. So I'm going to select the first one for front end. So US East 1A, US East 1B will be for the back end. The US East 1C will be for the database. So for the front end, I'm going to select the first option. Then I scroll down, I enter my SADA block IP address, which is this. Then I also scroll down again, which is that. Then the subnet SADA block IP address will be this. Then I scroll down, I click on add a new subnet because I'm going to create 3 subnets before I'll click on the create. So let me quickly create the next 2 subnets for backend and the database. So like I mentioned earlier on, you have your VPC, which is this. Then you scroll down. Like I said, I'm going to have like 3 subnets. Already I've created the first one, which is the front end. Then you enter the details for the availability zone. You select this, US East 1. That's for the front end. You scroll down. The default SADA block IP address is this. So you need to enter the one for this particular subnet of front end. You scroll down, then you click on add what's called another subnet. This is the second one. And then when you're done, that's for the back end. When you're done, you scroll down, it creates for the database. This is the database subnet. Now I have my 3 subnets entered with the necessary information. The next thing I want to do now is to click on create subnet. So let's say it's created the subnet. Successfully, the 3 have been created. So the next thing I want to do now is to attach my subnets to the route tables. With the route tables, all the subnets will be able to communicate with each other within the network. So to do that, I'll just come to route tables. Then I ensure that the VPC route table is selected. Then I'll scroll down. I click on subnet associations. I scroll down. Then I say edit subnet associations. So the next thing you want to do now is to associate your subnet with your route table. With your subnet selected. This is the one we created earlier on. You come to subnet association. Then you say edit subnet association. Ensure they are all selected. The front end subnet, the back end subnet, and the database subnet. So remember to select them all. You just scroll down, you save associations. So by doing that, you're going to have your route table associated with all your subnets. now that I have my routable associated with my subnet, the next thing I want to do now is to link all the subnets to the internet so that they will all be able to have both outbound and inbound traffic flow. So let's do that right away. So to link the subnet to the internet, you come to routables. With the routable, you click on route. So you say edit route. Then you enter all the necessary detail like your local target, the IP address, which is here by default. Then when you're done with that, you click on save changes. So you just click on add route, then you enter this IP address. This particular IP address will enable all flow of traffic, both inbound and outbound. Then under the target, you select under the target, you select Ethernet gateway. You can see you have several options there. You select Ethernet gateway. Then you enter the one you created earlier on. So the moment you are done with entering all the necessary information, you just come to save changes. So the details will be propagated. So now we have linked the routables to the internet, which will ensure all our subnets to communicate both with outbound and inbound traffic. So the next thing we want to do now is to create a flow logs to capture activities within the network. A flow log typically give information about what's happening within your network. Is anybody accessing your network without you knowing, or what kind of activities is happening within your network? That's what the flow log does. So to create your flow log, you just come here within the VPC dashboard. You click on your VPCs. So you highlight the one you created earlier on, which is this. You highlight it, then you scroll down and click on flow log, which is this flow logs. Then you create flow log. It will take you to the page where you need to create all the necessary flow log. Remember, we are going to have like two different flow logs, one for accept, then one for reject. The one for accept is for every activity that's entering your network, meaning you are accepting the activity, you understand. Therefore, the reject, maybe intruders are trying to access your network, but there's a rejection at that particular point in time. That particular flow log will keep record of all those logs. So we are going to have both accept and reject flow log. So the first flow log, let's call it flow log accept. Then you select accept. So a brief recap of what we have done so far. You're going to have your flow log details here. First, you enter your flow log accept to accept the flow of traffic to your network. Then you select the accept option. Then you select the maximum aggregation interval. There's the amount of time for every activity to occur on your server. Then for the destination, where do you want to record the log of those details? Let's select Amazon S3. You select Amazon S3. You can select other options, maybe Amazon Data Firehouse or Amazon Data Firehouse in a different account. So I'm going to select for Amazon S3 bucket. S3 bucket, there's Amazon resource name. But before you can get this, you need to create a separate S3 bucket for it. If you click on this, it will take you to where you can create the S3. So I already created mine and I have my ARN. I'll just paste it there. Then you scroll down, you say additional metadata. You can just click this, include Amazon EC2 metadata, data like the kind of data you want to collect from those flow log, like the account ID, the interface ID, the source address, destination address, and a couple of information you want to caption from those log. So the moment you are done entering all this information, you just scroll down, leave every other thing by default. You scroll down, then you say create flow log. So following the same process we use in creating the accept flow log, you're going to use that same process to create for the reject flow log. What you just need to do is just to ensure your VPC you're working on is selected, which is this. That's VPC you're working on. Then you enter the flow log name. So this is going to be a flow log reject. You scroll down, you select flow log reject, you select reject for it. Then the maximum aggregation interval, you select 10 minutes. Then remember the destination we selected for the other one. It will still be the same for this one. You just send to an Amazon S3 bucket. Then you scroll down, you enter the Amazon S3 bucket name here, the ARN, there's Amazon resource name. You enter it here. You scroll down, select, it should include the Amazon EC as metadata, for the kind of data you want to caption for every activities happening within the flow log network. Then you scroll down and click on create flow log. So we now have the second flow log created now. So the next thing you want to do now is how you can secure it's how to provision security to secure your infrastructure using the NACL, that is network access control list. To do that, under the security menu, you click on network ACLs. So with the network ACL created, you just click on create network ACL. So we are going to have 4 array, one for the front end, one for the back end, and for the database. So to begin with, just begin to enter the details for the front end before we move on to other ones. So you enter the NACL detail for the front end, which is front end -NACL CSL. You can create yours the way you want it to be. Then the minute you're done, you select the VPC you are using. So I'm using VPC, Fitech VPC. So the minute you finish entering those information, you just click on create network ACL. So this will be for the front end. So the minute I'm done creating for the front end, you can see front end NACLs. So I'm going to create for backend and for the database using the same process. Now we have our 3 subnets, NACL created both for front end, back end, and database. So the next thing we want to do now is to associate the NACLs with our subnet. So to associate the subnet, you just scroll to subnet. I see your subnet. You click on subnet, it will take you to the subnet page. So let's do for the one for front end first. I click on front end, then I say network ACL, then edit network ACL association. Then I will scroll down. So we have subnet network ACL. The network ACL ID is this. Then I scroll down and select so other network ACL ID. You select, since you're working on the front end, you select the one from the front end, you click on it, you scroll down and say save. So the front end ACL will now be linked to the front end subnet. So you have to do the same thing for both backend and database. So now we are done with the front end. I just come to backend and do the same thing. I just come to network ACL. I say edit network ACL association. So we have been able to associate our NACL with our subnet. Now, if you scroll down, you check it, you notice that that's how NACL, you can see they are all associated now. So the next thing you want to do now is to create individual security group for each of the subnet. So if you go to the security section, you see security groups. You click on it, and it will take you where you can create the security group. So the first one we'll be creating is the front end. What you need to do to create it, you can see this default. Always delete your default values, not to interrupt with your working process. So I'm gonna go straight and say delete security group. Oh no, you say I can't delete it because it's performing some activity, so I can just ignore it and go straight and create a security group for front end. So the security group for front end will be as follows. We're going to enter the front end name here, the description. You can give it a description of your choice, and the VPC. You select the VPC, for it. Then you scroll down the outbound rules. You can say all traffic. You understand? Then you scroll down. Then for the tag name, you can add a new tag, enter a name. They call it the same name as the name of the security group. Once you are done with that, you click on create security group. So you're going to repeat the same process to create for backend and the database. So let me quickly do that before we move on to the next step. Now that we have each security group for each subnet created, the next thing we want to do now is to modify our DNS for our virtual private cloud. So just come to VPC, come to your VPCs, then you select, you can see this is a VPC, then you come to the settings. So you select your VPC, this is a VPC we have, you come to actions, then you click on edit VPC settings. Under the VPC settings, you have your DNS settings, which is right here. You can see currently we have just the DNS resolution enabled. So we also need to enable the DNS host names. So what I just do just to take it, then I come to save. So we now have our DNS settings modified for our VPC. So the next thing we want to do now is to create our virtual machine, which we are going to deploy on our VPC. So let's check out the next step on how we can get that done. Now that we are done creating the VPC, the next thing we want to do now is to create and deploy a virtual machine on it using a Windows-based operating system. So the first thing we want to do is to search for EC2 to create the instance. You say EC2. So when you search for the EC2, you can see the first option here, virtual servers in the cloud. Then you click on EC2. So on the EC2 page is where you have the instances. You just scroll down, that's it, you say launch an instance. You click on it to launch an instance, and it will take you to where you can create the virtual machine. So let's quickly create it. So on the instance page, you would enter the Windows machine name, which should be for the virtual machine we are creating. You select Windows, because that's what we'll be using, Microsoft Windows. You scroll down, and for the Amazon machine image, you can leave the one by default. You also scroll down under the instance type. You ensure you have your tintiri.micro, because this was best for free tier eligible account. Then for the key pair, you come here to create a new key pair. So you enter your key pair name, then you create. It will take you to where you can download the key pair details. So I already have mine created. So I'll just scroll down. Other network settings, you select existing security group. This is a default VPC that will be working with. And you also have your front-end subnet you should work with. So for the firewall security group, you ensure you select existing security group. Then you scroll down. You leave every other thing by default. This is the configure storage. This storage will be assigned to you for a free tier account. The moment you're done, you can leave every other thing by default. Then you click on launch instance. So the instance virtual machine will be launched now. So right now the instance has been created. What we need to do now is to connect the virtual machine to the server. So we're gonna scroll over to the security section, within your VPC to enable inbound rules. With the inbound rules, you're able to allow inbound traffic to your network. So to do that, ensure you have network ACL, click other security. Then you select your front-end ACL. Your front-end ACL, then you click on inbound rules. Then you scroll down to create an inbound route. So let's say edit inbound rules. So for the inbound details, you can enter a valid number like the rule number. Let's say you have like 120, then the type is going to be RDP. That's remote desktop protocol. With that, you're able to access your OS from a remote location. Then the source IP, you can enter your IP address here, or you just leave this by default. With this default IP address, anyone from anywhere can access your virtual machine. Then for the allow deny section, you can just say allow. The moment you're done, you click on save changes. So we're going to repeat the same process for the outbound rules. Still with your front end selected, you just scroll down, ensure your outbound rules tab is selected. Then click on edit outbound rules. It will then take you to where you do the configuration. You can enter a valid rule number here. Then the type should be all traffic. By default, you can see they are all selected. So when you're done with that, you just click on save changes. Now you click on add rule. The rule number, you can call it maybe 120. Then for the type, you can say all traffic. Then the destination IP address, you can leave it as this. Then for the allow deny, you can just say allow. Then you save it. Then the outbound route will also be created along with the inbound route. So they are both enabled now. For the security configuration, we are done with the network ACLs. So the next one you want to configure is the security groups. So you just click on security groups. You select for front end. You select for front end, which is this. By default, the outbound rules allows outbound traffic to occur on the network. So we are going to configure for the inbound rules. So we just click on inbound rules. Then you click on edit inbound rules. It will take you this session. You say add rule and enter all the necessary details. So for the type, you can choose RDP. That's how the remote desktop protocol. you choose R, you choose RODP, then you move on to the source. The source should be anywhere IPv4. When you're done with that, you click on Save Rules. So the rules will be saved now. So the next thing now is to configure the virtual machine with a passkey. So before anybody can have access, it will require a password to do that. What you need to do now is to first of all go to your instances to do that. So we have our created instances. If you come to instances, you see the list of them. This is a particular one we created earlier on, the virtual machine, which is a Windows machine. So you click on it. You click on it and you say connect. It will then take you to the page where you need to do all the configuration. So on the connect to your virtual machine page, you have your RODP client. You click on the RODP client, then you scroll down and click on get password. So when you click on get password, it will take you to where you need to input your passphrase, just like code which was generated earlier on. So you just paste the code here. Let me paste it here because I have it already downloaded in my system. So the private key number which we generated earlier on is what we're going to paste on this section, the private key content. So once you're done doing that, you just click on decrypt password. So when you click on decrypt password, you scroll down, you see the password, which is this. That's it, the password has been created for you. So when you are trying to access your virtual machine on the remote desktop protocol version, it's going to require for your username, it's going to be administrator, and this is going to be the password. So let's quickly do that. So after configuring all the necessary login access, and you want to view your desktop Windows, all you need to just come here, say download remote desktop file. So you need to download it. It will now take you to the download folder, and when you open it, your virtual window will then be open. So that's how to go about creating a virtual machine, and deploying it for you to run on your local machine. I hope you like this video. If you like it, don't forget to subscribe, comment below. We are going to be releasing more content like this. Thank you, and bye for now.